Hey guys, once again, I always get caught up in teaching. I forget like when the video cuts off. So I'm not sure where I left off at, but these are the text features that we highlighted. We have the heading here, we have the bold text, we have the caption, we have the picture, the title, and the heading, right? Okay, and this is the heading. It actually looks like I'm pointing to the paragraph. This is a heading. Okay. All right. Let's go to the question. Okay. Question 1 says, which of the following is, let's mark up our question. Which of the following is not, that's important, a heading in this text? So when we go back and look for the headings, there are 2 headings that we picked out. And the first heading is laugh to feel better and you think you're funny. Both of these are headings, right? This is not a heading, guys. Let me repeat. This is the title. It's not the heading. Okay? These are the headings. A title talks about the whole passage. The headings only talk about the paragraphs. Okay? So which ones are not a heading in the text? And I know that laugh to make you feel better is a heading. And you think you're funny is a heading. And so C would be the answer because it feels good to laugh is not a heading in the text. That is the name of the text. Okay? Cool. Let's keep on reading. Why, that's our question prompt. Why did the author include headings in the text? So when we talk about headings, why do you think an author would include a heading in a text? What if the heading wasn't there? What if the author just like put the paragraphs out there? You wouldn't know what the paragraphs are about, right? And so when I look at the information, it says A, to give the reader information about how you can laugh. Headings don't give information. Headings talk about what you're about to read. So I'm going to eliminate A. B, to give the reader an idea of what each section will be about, or to give the reader background information on funny subjects. No. Headings are giving us an idea of what the section is about. So I know when I go up to the text, when I look at it says laugh to feel better, I know that this entire first text is going to talk about how laughing makes you feel better, right? And then you think you're funny. I know that this entire paragraph is talking about how different people are funny, okay? Good. So now that we did the model, now we're going to move on to our guided practice. Again, guys, this is a time where in the guided practice, you are going to pause the video and you are going to do it on your own. And then you can come back and you can see if you got it right. The cool thing about this guided practice is that this is a text that we have read together already. It's about the ship Endurance, and it's about the men and how they didn't freeze, but they had to like find different ways to cope with the weather. We read this text already, okay? So that's the good thing. The new thing in this is that there's a text feature here that we didn't include when we first read it because that would have been too much because we didn't talk about text features. The text feature in this is a timeline, guys. A timeline is something that I didn't talk about in the Board Equals paper because it's so many text features out there that you can't really talk about every single thing. But a timeline was one of our graphic organizers that were included in our text structure, right? When you think about text structure, a timeline in it is included in our chronological, right? When we have events or dates that are in order, we have a timeline. As you can see, it starts off with August 1st, 1914, and it goes all the way to August 30th, 1916, right? So it talks about, and I actually don't want to cover up the words, but we start out with August 1914 and we end here because this is the last dot we end here with August 30th, 1916. And so on the timeline, you get to see what happened first, what happened second, what happens third, what happens fourth, what happens fifth. All of these are in order. Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and then lastly, what happened last. Okay? All of these are in order. So now let's go ahead and let's look at our questions. Number 1, it clearly says which best describes the structure of the above passage. The passage, right? Not the timeline. So when I look at the passage, guys, I have to think about what the text structure is. Even though we're not talking about text structure, the question is asking you about text structure because you never know. We learned about it. It says in 1914, right? That's a clue. All right. And then as you continue to read on, it doesn't have any more dates, but then it talks about May, and then it goes all the way until August, right? So it talks about like how things happen in order. Okay? And so in this text, of course, would be a chronological text. And then you also have the timeline there to help you out. So this text is in chronological order. The second question says, what is the name of the text feature in this text? Okay, and so we actually just talked about this. We know that the text feature is not bolded words. We don't have any bolded words in this text. We don't have any captions in this text, and we don't have any headings. The only text feature is the timeline that tells us the events. Okay? And then it says, what is the purpose of including the text feature above? So think about it. What would be the purpose of including a timeline, right? When we look at the timeline, it talks about what happened from the beginning all the way to the end, right? So the beginning, the Endurance departs. Then the crew entered Antarctica. The Endurance becomes trapped with ice. Then the crew abandons the Endurance. That means that they have to leave, right? Then the ship sinks. Then the crew begins a march, right? Next, the crew abandons the march. They set up camp. Next, they go to sea in lifeboats and travel 7 days to reach Elephant Island. Next, the Shackleton reaches South Georgia Island. And then next, they arrive to the rescue crew from Elephant Island, right? So it kind of gives you a timeline based on, and it tells you it took them 2 whole years in order to be discovered, okay? So I need to look through my answer choices to figure out, like, what does this timeline help me see? To show us how long the Endurance crewmen waited on the ship until they were rescued in 1916. To explain to us that the crew had to abandon the Endurance on October 27, 1915, to help us understand when the Endurance first departed, to show us each major event that the Endurance experienced from their departure to their arrival. So guys, I can automatically eliminate A because first of all, they did not wait on the ship. This is not even true. The ship sank. So that's the first thing I can eliminate. The second thing I can eliminate is C, to help us understand when the Endurance first departed from London. First of all, that was only one event in the timeline. That's not the only thing that the timeline tells us, right? And then I can eliminate B because when it talks about them abandoning their ship on October 27th, 1915, that was only one event in the text. And that's just like what I talked about on C. That's only one event. The timeline doesn't just give you one event. It gives you each major event. Okay? Each major event. And so that's what the timeline tells us. It helps us to figure out each event that happened during that time. And then it talks about how is the passage different from the text feature. So how is the passage different from the timeline? The passage is written in compare and contrast, but the timeline is cause and effect. No, because we know that the passage is actually chronological order. The passage is cause and effect, but the timeline is chronological order. The passage and the timeline are both compare and contrast. The passage and the timeline are both descriptive. So guys, I'm going to actually change my answer to number 1 because our answer here is B. The passage is cause and effect, but the timeline is chronological order. And so that means that our passage is cause and effect and not chronological order. That was my fault. Okay. Okay, so you can just go back to your Google form and change that. And the reason why it's cause and effect is because the effect of them having, the cause of them having to go on foot and experience these dangerous temperatures is because the ship sank. If the ship never would have sank, they never would have really had this difficult experience, which is why it would be cause and effect. Okay. Now is the time for you to go on to your independent practice. It's pretty much the same thing that we did before. I want you to pick out your text features of the text and answer the questions about what do the text features help you learn about what's going on. Okay. If you have any questions, you can hit me up through office hours from 10 to 10:30 or on my phone, FaceTime, whatever you need. Okay. See you guys tomorrow. And I can't wait to shout those people out for getting 100% on their exit ticket for Wild Wednesday. So you better bring your A game. See you guys.